Allegations Occupy protesters have crossed the line, and not just from Vancouver city officials either. That is the subject of NewsHour Insight tonight. Deb Hope joins us now with more.
Yes, thank you, Chris. From urine being dumped on a city worker at Occupy Victoria to a scuffle at Occupy Vancouver last night that sent 2 first responders to hospital with bite wounds. Police are saying enough is enough. City lawyers were in court today asking for an injunction to remove the tent city at the art gallery. Our Marissa Thomas was also in the packed courtroom and explains why a quick end to the protest is not likely.
We'll come to a compromise.
A showdown in court today as Occupy protesters are met by sheriffs trying to ensure calm as City Hall is about to ask a judge for an injunction, allowing them to remove the tents and structures from the art gallery. Last night, things turned violent after fire crews moved in to put out a fire in a barrel started by those at the Occupy Vancouver site, prompting the police chief to demand protesters leave or face arrest.
We have seen the Black Mass and others who are intent on violence. Last night, this element fought with firefighters and police, sending 2 police officers to hospital with human bite wounds.
The protesters stood their ground with dozens spending the day at the art gallery, but the fire chief says at night the tents are mostly empty.
We have been using thermal imaging technology on site to look for heat sources. Propane-powered source. We found 2 cylinders there. We've also found steno fuel cans.
Have you been trying to do a head count then overnight just to determine that?
It varies between 15 to 20, 25 people.
Overnight.
Back at court, the hearing to decide the fate of the tent city starts late due to dozens of spectators and tight security.
Inside, lawyers for the city called the Occupy squat a recipe for disaster and asked for an injunction allowing the city to remove the tents. However, the occupiers didn't have proper representation and said they needed more time to find a lawyer. The judge gave them an adjournment, which means it's status quo until at least tomorrow. So what are you planning with the city? What do your contingency plans look like?
Well, we'll see what the injunction says, and then we'll look at the legal authority, and then we'll make our plans accordingly.
But you're making plans right now, are you not? Aren't you making plans right now?
We'll make our plans accordingly. When we go in, you'll know.
As Occupy is granted another reprieve, they continue to defy the fire bylaw. Meantime, the toll for taxpayers has grown to $540,000. And Chief Chu says he can't rule out running a deficit due to the extra policing costs, which will surely mount if police move in.
Tensions also boiling over at a mayoralty debate in Vancouver last night. Over 1,000 people turned out for the event, but they were frustrated when it was all but hijacked by protesters. Actions that one of the original organizers of Occupy Vancouver says works against the true purpose. In fact, a week after helping to start the encampment, he left, saying it's now a circus. Romina Dea has more on that part of the story.
Housing is a human right. We will not give up the fight.
Occupy Vancouver protesters took their fight to church last night. Over 1,000 people packed the pews to hear the mayoralty candidates debate the issues of homelessness and affordable housing. But it didn't take long for the process to get derailed.
In the name of democracy and free speech, you are essentially silencing Aboriginal people, a person with mental illness. You see? Do you see? So are you?
A circus, man. It's not what it's supposed to be. I know that.
A circus. That's how Tim Morley describes what has happened to the Occupy movement. The father of 5, who says he was one of the original organizers, left the cause after just 1 week.
From the get-go, they tried to say that this was a grassroots movement, that this was based upon people's needs and wants for change. But now it's just gotten to the point of it's now a huge distraction, and all these issues that are very credible and need to be addressed are being lost.
Drug use, the suspected overdose death of 23-year-old Ashley Guff, and the lack of focus and leadership is why Morley and several other organizers say they're pulling their support.
I think a lot of people on the outside think that we don't have a purpose, or we may be off track. I think that they need to come down and directly talk with us for a few hours at a time, or, you know, come down for 2 or 3 hours and take a look around and see the passion that people have.
But former occupiers don't support passion crossing the line.
Tell us to go home. If they tell us to go home, they might be responsible. They might be responsible for another riot.
Excuse me, you are in a church, and are you suggesting a public riot? Words are very important, and you and I know that.
You know, if you can't bring credibility to this, the attempt is going to fail, and it's actually going to cause more harm than good. What they are accomplishing is that they're making it harder for anybody who has a credible issue to be taken seriously in the future.
It's too bad that that happened that way, and you know, it doesn't really look like there's going to be any resolution anytime soon.
No, we'll see what happens tomorrow morning and whether the city gets that injunction they're looking for.
Yes.
All right, thanks very much, Deb.